In just the last 4 weeks alone, there have been at least 8 separate deadly shooting sprees all across the country. Some of this can be linked to the recession, since several of the gunmen had lost their jobs. The recession is having an effect in another surprising way. In past downturns, people stocked up on things like canned soups. But this time, it's guns. Even as the stock market has plummeted, shares in Smith & Wesson have nearly quadrupled since November, and sales of guns are going through the roof. When we showed up at the weekend gun show in Richmond, Virginia, the line to get in went around the building. How many guns will be sold at a show like this over a weekend like this?
Probably thousands.
Philip Van Cleve, the president of Virginia's largest gun rights group, took us on a tour inside a world that's part arms bazaar, part antiques roadshow. And while the memorabilia may not be to everyone's liking, when it came to firearms, there was a perfect gun here for every taste. These are pretty nice looking.
Yeah, some of them, they've actually made guns in colors. A lot of women like pink guns. The good thing about a pink gun is a man will never steal it from you.
You could tell gun sales are up because all around us, dealers and customers were busy filling out the paperwork needed for FBI background checks. Since November, the number of background checks nationally has jumped over 30% compared to last year. With that kind of demand, are the prices going up?
Yeah, the prices have gone up. In fact, a rifle like this, which is $700, probably a year ago would have been about half of that.
One reason, he says, people are willing to dole out the cash during this financial meltdown is the financial meltdown.
We're being told all the time that, oh boy, the economy could just collapse and we could fall into chaos. Well, chaos is a good reason to be able to protect yourself.
And this is what are in people's minds and driving them into these shows and gun stores. And
it's a form of insurance policy. You could imagine if we truly had a collapse of the economy and it was hard to find food, those that did manage to hang on to food might find themselves in a precarious position.
But the bigger reason for this gun rush is best summed up by this gun show commercial.
Buy, sell, trade up, and cash in. Celebrate the Second Amendment and get your guns while you still can.
While you still can is code for Barack Obama wants to take your guns away and reimpose the ban on assault weapons.
President Obama, when he was a senator in Illinois, pushed for every gun ban he could. I
actually heard that the ammo was going quickly because people are afraid he's going to increase taxes on ammo.
That's another possibility. Certainly a gun wouldn't be any good without ammunition.
People are stockpiling bullets. 3 hours into the show, empty stock trays piled several feet high. Fear of Obama has actually created a national ammo shortage. Is the gun lobby whipping up these fears?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think the elections took care of that themselves.
The number of FBI background checks does not reflect all the gun sales because of something called the loophole. In Virginia and more than 30 other states, people who aren't gun dealers, like this gentleman with the rifle slung over his shoulder, can sell firearms at gun shows without conducting background checks. Actually, these men can sell their guns anywhere, here, in private homes, or out of their cars.
You can see that you have you have a tag from Maryland.
We met Gerald Massengill, former police superintendent of Virginia, in the parking lot. He showed us license plates from up and down the East Coast. And they come here.
And they come here because that's where the guns are easier to buy.
Virginia is a main source of guns that end up in crimes in several northern states where gun controls are stricter.
You probably can walk this parking lot and find people selling guns out of the trunk of their vehicles.
And that's legal.
And that's legal. There are no restrictions in Virginia against private sales as far as background checks. And again, that amazes me that in this day and time, we would not want to know as sellers whom we're selling to.
But imposing any restrictions on gun sales in Virginia is nearly impossible. Consider what happened when a bill was introduced to close just the gun show loophole following the 2007 Virginia Tech massacre. With overwhelming public support, it was sure to pass, given the outrage over the worst shooting in modern U.S. history. 32 students and teachers were shot and killed by a mentally disturbed student, Sung-Wee Cho. Lily Habtu, who was shot in the jaw and survived, says the loophole must be closed.
Convicted felons can walk into a gun show. The mentally ill can go into a gun show and purchase whatever they want.
Without a background check?
Without a background check.
Why not make it uniform and have everybody go through the background check?
Well, how about making it uniform and have nobody go through the background check? The Second Amendment doesn't say you can get a gun if you go through a background check.
Lily and several of the Virginia Tech family members lobbied to close the gun show loophole. They created Facebook groups and YouTube clips.
No background check.
No gun, no excuses.
Omar Samaha, whose 18-year-old sister Rima was killed that day, testified before Virginia lawmakers that he went to the Richmond Gun Show one day and bought a dozen weapons in an hour, including an assault rifle and
a Glock that was stronger than the one used to kill my sister.
Did you ever have to show any identification?
No.
Were you ever asked?
I was asked, but I refused.
So what happened?
They either sold me the gun still, or they said, pay me $50 more and I'll go without looking at your ID.
Here's one of the big arguments. Cho didn't get the guns from a gun show. And he did show his ID. There was a background check on him.
But
so
the next show will go to a gun show because it's that simple. It's just like buying a candy bar. It really is.
But if one side thinks the lesson of the Virginia Tech massacre is we need more gun control, the other side, the gun lobby, says it proves we need less. Philip Van Cleve says the ban on guns on college campuses should be lifted.
If just one student, 21 or older, had a permit and had been armed that day, I mean, the first time a police officer showed up, they didn't even fire a shot. He saw the police come and he killed himself. It was over. The first time somebody would have been able to show him resistance that would have stopped him, I'm convinced he would have killed himself and probably saved a whole bunch of lives at that point.
Arming all those young people.
Wonder who's fighting in Iraq for us right now.
But, you know, you could have a lot of them be like Cho.
If they do, there will be plenty of other 21, 22, 23, and older people there to make sure that he doesn't get very far.
When the Virginia Senate voted in February on closing the gun show loophole, it was a real stunner. The bill lost by 2 votes.
The bill fails to pass.
The gun rights forces prevailed. You had so much going for you. You had the emotion, you had parents, you had survivors speaking out.
Police chiefs.
Police chiefs,
Yep.
you had the governor of the state, and it still went down. Why?
I would have to say that the gun lobby must have a strong base in Virginia.
And so she and Omar are looking to Washington, now that the Democrats are in control, and with so many fresh examples of gun violence, from the Mexican drug cartels along our southern border to a string of deadly domestic shootings where assault weapons were used. As in Alabama on March 10th, a gunman crossed the state, killing 10. In Oakland, California on March 21st, a man killed 4 police officers, 2 with an assault weapon. And in Pittsburgh on April 4th, 3 policemen were gunned down. The suspect's friends say that he had lost his job and that he was afraid President Obama was about to reinstate the assault weapons ban that had passed under President Clinton but was allowed to expire under President Bush.
So actually this whole, right up there to that rifle he's handling are all AKs.
Now why? AKs and other firearms, once forbidden under the ban, now fill entire tables. Is it an assault weapon? You can even buy them without a background check.
These assault weapons are essentially designed and made to kill numbers of people in close combat.
Senator Dianne Feinstein of California was the author and champion of the assault weapons ban in 1994.
They become the gun of choice of drug cartels, of gangs, of people who are mentally incompetent. Our police on the streets are essentially outgunned. Lesley, Friday I was at a funeral in Oakland, California. 4 police officers slain.
Senator Feinstein wants to reinstate the assault weapons ban. But what are her chances? Listen to the number 2 Democrat in the Senate, Dick Durbin of Illinois.
We don't debate guns around here much anymore. We used to. Basically, we reached a point where there just aren't many people who will stick their political necks out to vote for sensible gun control. Just too big a hassle.
A hassle because of what happened in 1994. After the assault weapons ban was passed, the Republicans won both houses of Congress, and the National Rifle Association got a lot of the credit. But now the Democrats are back in control. Don't you think that there's been a big political shift in the country?
Towards guns, yes.
Towards Democrats?
Democrats aren't all anti-gun. And we saw some Republicans get kicked out of the Senate and replaced with some much better Democrats.
Much better meaning?
For guns.
He's right, and 65 Democrats in the House who are, quote, for guns, signed this letter opposing bringing back the ban. You have lots and lots of Democrats who got support from the NRA this time. And so they agree with the NRA. They'll vote with the NRA.
I'm not going to disagree with that at all.
She admits she's facing daunting opposition.
The National Rifle Association essentially has a stranglehold on the Congress.
Has anybody, the Democratic leadership in the Senate, or anybody from the administration looked at you and said, back off?
No. Nobody said a word to me.
And what about President Obama, who NRA supporters like to call the great gun grabber? His website says he wants to make the expired federal assault weapons ban permanent. But the White House doesn't seem to be interested in bringing it up anytime soon. There's some sense that the president has so many crisis issues on his plate right now that the idea of bringing up guns, which is considered part of the culture wars, would be such a diversion.
I agree with you. I wouldn't bring it up now.
So you're going to hold off?
That's correct. I'll pick the time and the place, no question about that.
It appears that overall public support for stricter gun controls has been eroding. According to the Gallup poll, 60% favored stricter gun laws in 2000. That number is now down to 49%, the lowest point since Gallup started asking the question.